there are three questions asked to help us reflect on writing our own faith story. They are, where have you been? Where are you now? And where do you hope to go in the future? Now, as you think about answering those questions, something that might help is to imagine your life story as being a line. It starts with your birth, and then it goes on with an arrow because your story is still being told. You might consider the significant story turns. Donald Miller, in his book Storyline, says that any good novel or movie has a number of story turns in the life of the main character. And story turns are experiences or events that change the character in some permanent way. He also helps us think about the positive and the negative story turns of our lives. Positive story turns can be as significant as winning a spelling bee when we were in school, or graduating, the day we got married, when we got a certain job. And there are negative story turns. Negative story turns might be my parents divorced. I lost a big game. I got sick. I divorced myself. I lost a job. Now, you could chart your key events in your life in a couple of ways. You could put the dots on the upper half of the line to signify the positive story turns and write what those are. And then on the bottom side, you could put dots for the negative turns, or you might use sticky notes. You could put yellow sticky notes on the top that have written in what those positive turns were, maybe pink sticky notes or some other color, to represent the negative story turns. Donald Miller also says that on average, in the life of a 30-year-old person, by that point in life, you probably had 12 significant story turns in your life. If you're older, it's going to be a few more. If you're younger, perhaps a few less. But maybe you'll use that as a guideline to determine how many significant story turns have you had. Now, once you chart that, step back from it for just a minute, and then begin to consider, where has God shown up in those turns? Where has God been a part of the positive story turns in your life to lead to important outcomes or next steps? And don't forget the way God can use the negative turns. This is what helps us understand God's power to use negative events in our lives. And Donald Miller says it's what keeps us from becoming victims. It doesn't mean a negative event is not negative. It's not just saying, oh, God made all of those positive. It means God's redemptive power's at work. The negative turns in our lives, he says, remain negative turns, but if we're going to heal, we must find something meaningful that came to us because of our tragedies. Looking at our negative turns invites the question, where can I see God working through these events? So as you identify your life as a key number of events and story turns that have changed you, and as you begin to identify where has God shown up in those places, then you can begin to wrestle with the question, what themes do I see emerging in my own story?